classroom.google.com. A lot of you did. There were I think 81 of you who were there. The rest of you did not join the classroom yet. Just a second. So if you came to classroom.google.com and logged in with your Google ID, you will see a classroom like this. Click on that. There might be a plus sign here, okay, which will ask you to either join a class or create a class. If you wanted to join this class, you would have to present a class code, which is this XLWL77I. So those who missed it yesterday, please make a note of it. Go to this URL, classroom.google.com, log in with your Google and join a class giving this code XLWL77I. So what I did yesterday is this, right? There is this tab called classwork. Under classwork, I had created some titles, basically. Nothing else. I did not create any content here. I just created some titles. Say units and measurements. Under units and measurements, I posted something. Okay. So if you click on that, you will basically get access to these two files here. The chapter 2 PDF, basically your NCERT textbook PDF, and then a class from Murli sir, which I found was uploaded to YouTube, so I linked it here. Okay, so you can have easy access to it. Similarly, under functions, there was the Murli sir's video on maths functions. On differentiation, I did not find any video. However, I added a content of my own. Basically, I made a PDF out of some document that I had. So I cut some pages out of it and I made a PDF and I present it here. You can study differentiation from here. You have some exercise problems there. You can try to solve them by your hand. You could have asked some doubts here in this thing. And in the tab stream, there is a thread that I started saying, doubts thread. This one. Under this thread, you are supposed to ask doubts on comments only. Students are not given permission to create any posts because I don't want any clutter to happen here. So that is the thing. Okay. So if you want the code again, there it is. XLWL77I. Okay. So I am closing this. In fact, we can actually do more. See, there are 87 students as of now, and there are 168 students in the class now. So I need rest of you also to log in and join the class so that we can have some discussion happening there. Okay. I want to see some work going on. So we'll do it on classroom. Okay. So I'll close the tab now. Okay. So coming back to our numericals in motion in 1D. So I have already prepared a couple of questions. You can make a note of this. Question number 1. You can take a screenshot while I read it. A hot air balloon. I mean, it's a hot air balloon, not a hot air balloon. A hot air balloon is moving up at a constant rate 10 meters per second. Sir, how can it move up at a constant rate? Won't there be some buoyancy? Won't there be some gravity? Don't worry about all that. Kinematics is not a branch of physics that deals with factors that control motion. Kinematics only deals with motion parameters, and the relation between them. Okay. If you want the reason behind motion, what is causing the motion, what is controlling the motion, what's going to influence the motion a lot, those factors are dealt under a separate topic called mechanics, dynamics, etc. We will come across them later chapters. Newton's laws of motion, rotational dynamics, etc. We'll come to that. But for now, it has been given that via some mechanism, a hot air balloon is moving up at a constant rate of 10 meters per second. When it is at a height of 495 meters, a stone is dropped from it. Okay. We discussed about say means that you have moved on. If you were at rest and you drop an object, it will start moving and start its motion from rest. Right? Here the hot air balloon is already moving up at a rate of 10 meters per second. So if an object drops from it, the object will also start its motion from that speed, that velocity per second upwards. So if the stone is dropped, it actually starts moving. I mean, it continues to move. It actually does not start moving. It was already in motion. It was already moving up at a rate of 10 meters per second. It continues to move with the same speed, but then under the influence of gravity, it starts slowing down. It goes to a certain height. And from there, it will basically just drop down to the ground. Okay, so to calculate the time in which the stone hits the ground, the speed with which it hits the ground, also the distance it covers before it hits the ground. These are the questions. Okay, so let us say it has been given that G is equal to 10 meter per second square. Don't fight among yourselves that G equal to 9.8 or G equal to 10. Don't worry about all that. Basically, G is equal to 9.8 meter per second square is also wrong. G is equal to 10 is also wrong. Let us rather do an easy mistake than a difficult mistake, is it not? Anyway, here in this question, see, if it is specifically said in a question, supposed to take G is 9.8 meter per second square, and you take it as 9.8. Otherwise, you take it as 10. That way, it will become a little easier. And the more numerical, more problems you do, you will get to know about it more. I mean, even if the G value is not given, you will know what to substitute. Okay. So anyway, I'll draw this situation. This is the ground. The hot air balloon is somewhere here. Okay. The object is dropped at this level, and it is said that this level is basically 495 meters above the ground. From this is where the stone is dropped. As in, the hot air balloon was already moving at a speed of 10 meters per second upwards. So if it drops a stone, the stone also starts with u is equal to 10 meters per second. Okay. However, there is an acceleration due to gravity 10 meters per second square downwards. Because the acceleration is in the opposite direction to initial velocity, the velocity starts decreasing. Acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. Because acceleration is opposite to velocity, it starts decreasing. So the speed decreases. So the stone goes up, speed point, and then it goes down in the same line. For convenience sake, I am drawing it like this. Okay. Someone is saying my voice is breaking. I'm going back to Zoom. On chat, you tell me what. Okay, so how do I look at the chat from here? Okay, whatever, leave it. I guess the voice is being heard. But anyway, if it is not, follow very carefully. Please check screen here. Your screen. Acceleration is down and the host okay. Sorry, seekers connect. Hello students, we are back. Sorry for the inconvenience. I'm sorry. Okay, so continuing with this, what is that? So this is the hot air balloon, and it's rising up with a speed 10 meters per second upwards, and an object is dropped from there. So the initial speed is 10 meters per second upwards for the stone also. Acceleration due to gravity is 10 meters per second square. So, and it is acting downwards. Since the acceleration is in the opposite direction with initial velocity, the initial velocity decreases in magnitude, so the object goes up until its speed becomes 0, and after that it starts falling down under the acceleration due to gravity until it reaches the ground, right? So this is the initial point, let's say A, and this is the final point, let's say B. Okay, so if initial point is above the final point, what would be the direction of displacement throughout the motion? We already spoke about this. Direction of displacement is always from initial point to the final point. See, this is the initial point and this is the final point. So the displacement direction would be downwards. So S is downwards. S is equal to 495 meters downwards. U, initial velocity, U is equal to 10 meters per second upwards. A or G, whatever you may want to call it, is equal to 10 meters per second square downwards. What are you supposed to calculate? You're supposed to calculate P. You're supposed to calculate V, final speed. Okay, so these are the questions. Get it? We'll go to a new slide. So what are given? U is equal to 10 meter per second upwards. Displacement S is equal to 495 meters downwards. Acceleration is equal to 10 meter per second square downwards. Now, someone also asked a doubt on the classroom yesterday, Google Classroom. What about sign convention, sir? How to use sign convention? How to define sign convention? Sign convention may be defined after knowing the directions of all the vectors involved in the question. All right? U is upwards, S is downwards, A is downwards. See, there is a standard sign convention, which is basically the Cartesian sign convention, the one which you use in optics. In 10th standard, you had used a sign convention. Anything to the right of optical center is positive. Anything to the left of optical center is negative. Any height measured above principal axis is positive. Any height measured below the principal axis is negative. Do you remember or not? So such Cartesian coordinate system, or basically that convention, is pretty standard. Or what else you can do is, when you have the directions known for all quantities that are involved in the question, you see there are two quantities which are in the downward direction. So let us say I'll take downward as positive and upward as negative. Nothing wrong in this. This is also right. If I take downwards negative and upwards positive, it is still right. No issues at all. Okay. But you cannot say downwards is negative and upwards is also negative. That would be a kind of ill productive, no? So one of these two conventions you can use. You know what? In fact, we'll use both of them. Okay. The first convention we'll use, according to the first convention, U is equal to what? 10 meter per second. 10 meter per second upwards. We have taken upwards as negative, so minus 10 meter per second. S is equal to, downwards is positive, 495 meters. A is equal to, downwards is positive, 10 meter per second square. To find or to calculate time, you use the formula S is equal to ut plus half at squared. S is 495 is equal to ut minus 10t plus half into A. Half into 10 is 5t squared. 5 goes 2 times in 2 and 99 times in 45. So this results in an equation, quadratic equation in fact, t square minus 2t minus 99 equal to 0. Okay, sir, how are you doing it fast? Can you explain one more step in between? Don't do all that. You're following the board here. Make a note of these things. Write it down on a paper and try to solve it on your own. Solve the quadratic equation on your own. Simplify the quadratic equation on your own. If your answer does not match with mine, that's when you raise it out. Okay, so we can all do at our own paces. No issues. Don't worry. So this is the quadratic equation which we get. This can be solved as C is equal to 11 or minus 9. Okay, basic mathematics only. You just have to factorize minus 99 into two factors. So it would be 9 into 11. it's either minus 9 into plus 11 or 9 into minus 11, whichever it is it not? And when you add these two, you get minus 2. So I choose that, right? So t minus 11 into t plus 9 equal to 0. When t minus 11 is equal to 0, it becomes t equal to 11. Or when t plus 9 is equal to 0, it becomes t equal to minus 9. Negative time is probably not possible. So the answer is t is equal to 11 seconds. So the time the stone takes to hit the ground is 11 seconds. Understood? What about this convention? What if I use this convention? Okay, we'll try to use that also. According to this convention, u is equal to, this convention says upwards is positive, downwards is negative. U is equal to, u is in upward direction, so 10 meter per second. S is equal to minus 495 meters. A is equal to minus 10 meter per second square. A is not always minus 10 meter per second square. A is minus 10 when you say so. Right? When you take this convention, A is minus 10. When you take this convention, A is plus 10. So don't worry about that. Acceleration due to gravity is just 10 downwards. Acceleration due to gravity is 10 meter per second square downwards. That's all. That's the truth. Whether it is positive or negative is your opinion. Okay. Now, when you substitute these things in the same equation, S is equal to ut plus half at square, you get minus 495 is equal to 10t minus 5t squared. Okay, you cancel 5 through. So you get the same equation again when you rearrange. T square minus 2t minus 99 equal 0. It still solves as t is equal 11 seconds or 9 seconds, which is not the answer. So answer is minus 9. Answer is t equal 11 seconds. Either of these situations, you will always get the same answer. Okay. Understood? So that is the solution for the problem. Time in which it hits the ground. What are we supposed to find next? Speed with which it hits the ground. Speed. You are supposed to find v. That can be easily calculated, no? Once you have time, you can easily calculate the time. I mean, you can easily calculate v. I will use the same convention as this. So I will say v is equal to u plus at. What is u? Minus 10. Plus what is a? 10. Into what was t? 11. Right? Minus 10 plus 10 into 11 is 110. Minus 10 plus 110 is 100 meters per second. The speed with which the stone hits the ground is 100 meters per second. Okay. Now, not only the given values signs are determined by the convention, even the answer here. See, you got v equal to 100 and we used this convention. We got v positive. According to this convention, what is positive? Downwards. So this means what? Final moment, I mean, just before it hits the ground, the stone was moving downwards. It can be reflected in the answer itself. If you had used this convention, if you use this convention, v is equal to u plus at, what do you think you will get? U is 10, a is minus 10 into 11 seconds. You will get minus 100 meter per second. Is this a wrong answer? V is equal to minus 100 meter per second. Is this a wrong answer? No. We had used a different convention. This convention we used. According to this convention, what does minus mean? Downwards. So here also it says V is 100 meter per second downwards. Isn't the answer same in both the cases? The way we interpret the answer is what we understand from the problem. Okay, I hope you understood. Third, what is asked? Distance it covers before it hits the ground. So this is an interesting question. Okay, distance it covers before it hits the ground. You see, the object is moving from A to B. But from A to B, the object is not moving in a strict straight line. Its direction is changing, is it not? It's actually going from A to C. Let us say this point is C. The object is going from A to C, and then it's coming down from C to B. So the displacement of the object is directly from A to B, which is 495 meters long. But the distance covered by the object, D, small d, is nothing but AC plus CB. You remember? Distance traveled is the length of the path, total path taken. The path is not exactly a straight line. The path is a straight line, but its direction is changing. Object is going from A to C, and then from C, it's coming back to D again. So the total distance covered is AC plus CB. In fact, you can write this CB as AC plus, can write the CB as CA plus AB. Can we do that? And AC and CA both are same. So I can write it as 2AC plus AB. AB is known, 495 meter. So all you need to calculate now is just AC. Are we following this? The total distance covered by the object during this 11 seconds is from A to C and then from C to B. So the total distance is AC plus CB. We are writing CB as CA plus AB. By doing that, AC and CA are same. So I'm writing it as 2AC, 2 times AC plus AB. Because we know AB value 495, I can substitute it later. I just have to calculate the value of AC. What is AC? A is this point and C is this point. Right? From here, the object starts with a speed 10 meters per second upwards. And as it reaches C, its speed becomes 0. We are only considering the motion from A to C. The object's motion starts from U is equal to 10 meters per second upwards. But by the time it reaches C, its velocity actually becomes 0. Sir, V is 100 meters per second. No. V is 100 meters per second at D. We are now discussing the situation at C. At C, V is equal to 0. That is the topmost point where the object comes to a momentary rest, right? Instantaneous rest. Okay. So we just have to calculate this displacement here. We still know the value of A. A is 10 meters per second square downwards. So I know the value of U. I know the value of A. I know the value of V. I just have to calculate the displacement S. What equation can we use? Right? We can use V square minus U square equal to 2AS. Sorry for confusing these things. Sorry for switching between screens randomly. V square minus U square is equal to 2AS. When you substitute, you get 0 minus 10 squared is equal to 2 into minus 10 into S. Okay. Anyway, check it. I'll rather use a new slide. Okay. For the third question alone, we are using this slide. Point A is this. This is the 495 meters. This point is B. This is also B. So clearly, this is also A. And the topmost point here is C. The object travels from A to C, and then it travels from C to A, and then it travels from A to B. We know that this is 495 meters. The total distance covered by the object is what is to be calculated, which is basically AC plus CB. We can write that CB as CA plus AB. But AC plus CA is nothing but 2 times AC plus AB. AB value is known, is 495 meters plus 495. So I just have to calculate the value of AC. To calculate the value of AC, I'll consider that motion separately. The motion starts at A and ends at C, let us say. The motion starts at A, which speed is U equal 10 meters per second upwards. At the point C, the velocity is 0. Between them, acceleration is 10 meters per second square downwards. Displacement S is upwards. Okay. So if you know U, V, and A, to calculate S, you can use the formula V square minus U square equal to 2AS, where U is equal to plus 10 according to one convention. S is equal to, you have to calculate that. A is equal to minus 10 units meter per second squared, and V is equal to 0. Substitute all that there. 0 square minus 10 squared is equal to 2 into minus 10 into S. Right? This minus and minus get cancelled. 0 is not there. You can remove it. Okay, so then what? 2 into 10. 110 goes away. 2 goes 5 times in this 10. So S is equal to what? 5 meters. Okay. What does it mean? Distance traveled from A to C is 5 meters. So the answer would become what? 2 into 5 plus 495. The answer is 505 meters. Okay. The total distance covered by the object is 505 meters. Just a tricky question again. Not a difficult question, just a tricky question. Okay. Understood? I hope you did. The distance it covers before it hits the ground. If you can split or divide the motion into several parts, you can study its motion in each part separately, and then you can combine all of them together. Okay. From A to B, displacement is 495 meters, but the distance covered is 505 meters. So that is the first question. Okay. So maybe take a screenshot here. Even if I want, I'm not able to take a screenshot. Okay. Second one, second screen. Third screen. I'll try to post these screens on the classwork today. Okay. Google Classroom, don't worry. All right. So second question, second numerical. A police car at rest starts accelerating just as a thief on bike goes past them at a constant speed 20 meters per second. If the acceleration of the police car is constant and is 4 meters per second square, then find in what time the police catches up with the thief. Also find where the police had parked the spot before, find how far from the parked spot did they catch the thief, right? So what can we do is can draw a path, straight path. Let us say this is the path. This is the road on which this action is happening. Okay. And this is a parked spot. Let us. This is where the car was initially. The police car. Their initial speed is 0. U equal 0. They have an acceleration rightwards. They have an acceleration 4 meters per second squared in this direction. Okay. Then the thief on a bike is already moving in the same direction. Is already moving. Now, the initial moment for the car's motion is just when the thief crosses them. That's what they say. Police car at rest starts accelerating just as the thief goes past them. So when the thief is here, the car starts moving. Okay, so this moment here is what we can take as t equal to 0. That is why we said initial velocity of the car is 0. But initial velocity of the thief is not 0. I'll call that ut. Thief, na? So I'll call that ut. Initial maybe, okay, fine, no issues. Ut is equal to how much? He is already moving at a speed of 20 meters per second in this direction. Okay. What about acceleration of the thief? No acceleration. It has been said that the thief is moving at a constant speed, no acceleration for him. The question is, in what time is the thief going to be busted? Say, why would the thief get caught? First of all, think about it. Why would the thief get caught at all? Thief is moving at a constant speed, 20 meters per second. The car starts accelerating, even though from 0, it starts accelerating, meaning its speed is always increasing. So at some point, its speed is going to go beyond 20 meters per second, and it is still going to grow beyond that. It is still going to grow above 20 meters per second. After some time, say for example, when the thief had reached this position, okay, this is the location C, let us say, this is A, this is location C where the catching up takes place, okay. So the thief has reached this position in a certain time T. What is needed here is the car, even though it starts from 0, because it is accelerating uniformly, in the same time T, the car should also be able to reach that point C. It's not. If the thief reaches a certain location in a time T, the car should also be able to reach the same location in the same time. That is the condition for the thief to be caught by the police. Okay. Did you understand the condition? Once we have understood the condition, the solution is not a big deal. I'm moving on to the next slide where we can solve the question. Understood the logic there? So logic is basically there is a point A. This is a car, this is a thief. For car, u is equal to 0. Acceleration is equal to 4 meters per second squared. For thief, u is equal to 20 meters per second. acceleration is equal to 0. And this point is C, where the catching up takes place. The displacement up to here is S. The time taken for either of them to reach that point is T, let us say. Now, the thief is performing uniform motion. For uniform motion, what is the equation of motion? Displacement is equal to speed into time. So what is the displacement there? We don't know. Let us say S equal to speed is 20 into time is, we don't know. Let us say T. For the car, displacement is S equal to UT plus half AT squared. This is UTT, thief car. UT plus half AT squared. Okay. Why? Because the car is accelerating. S is equal to UT plus half AT squared. Displacement must be the same S as this. U is nothing but 0 here. For the car, initial velocity 0. The time taken is same as this time. T plus half AT squared. Half into A is what? 4. So half into 4 is 2 T squared. S is equal to 2T squared. So now I got two equations and two unknowns. S and T are unknowns. And I have two equations for two unknowns. If you have as many equations as the number of unknowns, it means you can solve for all the values. Some way or the other, you can always solve them. What do you want to calculate? If we want to calculate time, we try to eliminate S. If we want to calculate S, we try to eliminate time. I think the first question was to calculate the time taken in which the police catches up with the thief. So to calculate time, I will eliminate S. How can I eliminate S? On the left hand side here, we have SS only. I can basically just divide the equations. S by S is equal to 20T divided by 2T squared. This implies one of the T's get cancelled, the S's get cancelled, leaving 1 here. 2 goes 10 times in this. So the T goes to the numerator on the other side, leaving T is equal to 10 seconds. So the time in which the car catches up with the bike, the police catches up with the thief is 10 seconds. Get it? Next question is what? First question is this. What is the second question in that? Second part of the question. How far from the park spot, how far from A was the thief caught? So what is the distance between A and C is the question, right? Isn't this the distance? Yes, is the distance traveled by the thief in time T, also the car in time T. So I just have to calculate. Yes, now S is equal to which one you should use? Should I use 20T or should I use 2T squared? Both of them will give the same answer because they are same, right? S is equal to 20T and S is equal to 2T squared. We basically equated them to calculate this. Both are same only. I can use one of them. S is equal to 20T equal to 20 into 10, 200 meters. So 200 meters down the line from where the police car was parked, the thief would be get caught. I think a similar question is there in the NCERT textbook. I'm not sure. Those who have checked the textbook would have seen the answer, or I mean the question or answer, whatever. Okay. Okay. Next question. Two cars. No, wait for some time till I write this. Two cars are moving in the same direction. With the same speed. With separation 40 meters. In order to overtake rear car accelerates and overtakes in 5 seconds. Find the acceleration. That is the question. Okay. Two cars are moving in the same direction with the same speed, with the separation 40 meters. In order to overtake rear car, rear car accelerates and overtakes in 5 seconds. find the acceleration. I'll tell you the logic. You try to solve this. Okay. Now, at a certain instant, the car A was chasing car B. So rear car is basically A. Both are moving at the same speed. The speed is not given, which probably means it is not important. So I can take it as U, no issues. So both were moving in the same direction with the same speed. A is following B and A wants to overtake B. The separation between them initially is 40 meters. In 5 seconds, A is able to catch up with B. Overtaking means what? A is able to reach B. If it reaches B, it's basically overtaken it, right? So in 5 seconds, what's happening? In 5 seconds, A has reached B. But will the B be in the same position in 5 seconds? In 5 seconds, the B would have moved to a certain distance. Let us say in 5 seconds, the B has covered a certain distance and has reached here. Okay, this is B dash, the new position of B. After 5 seconds, let us say B dash is the new position of B. But in 5 seconds, the new position of A must also be the same. From here, it should have reached here, A dash. Only then you can say the A is able to overtake B. In 5 seconds, A should have displaced this much, B should have displaced this much, so that A can overtake B. Okay, so this is the displacement of B. This is the displacement of A. While B is performing uniform motion at a constant speed, A is performing a uniformly accelerated motion from A. Right, I hope you are following. There's a car at A initially, there's a car at B initially. Both of them are moving with the same speed, U in the same direction. A is chasing B. A wants to overtake B. They were separated by a distance of 40 meters initially. And A is able to overtake by accelerating uniformly for 5 seconds. We were asked to find acceleration. Okay, how to go about it? Now, A is performing accelerated motion. B is performing uniform motion. That means for A, what will be the equation? U is equal to U. We know that. A is equal to A. We have to calculate that. T is equal to 5 seconds. And displacement is nothing but SA. What will be the equation? SA is equal to UT plus half A T squared. Isn't it? For B, what do we know? U is equal to U. A is nothing but 0 because it's not accelerating. T is equal to 5 seconds in the same time. Its displacement must be something like SB. So the equation for this would be SB equal to U into T. A is 0, so the second term won't be there. So I have an equation in terms of SA and SB. Now see, from the diagram, can you tell me the relation between SA and SB? From A to B, it is 40 meter. From B to say C, it is SB. From A to C, it is SA. How can I relate these two? SA is the sum of 40 meters and SB. So SA is equal to 40 plus SB. I'll just substitute these equations. 5U plus A by 2 5 square, that is 25, equal to 40 plus 5U. 5U's get cancelled. A is equal to 40 into 2 divided by 25. Understood? 5 goes 5 times in this, 5 goes 8 times in this. 8 to 16, 16 by 5 is 3.2 meters per second square. A similar question was asked in one of the previous year exams. Very simple question now, if you think about it. Why am I saying this is simple? Because look at the only equations that are used. S is equal to UT plus half AT square and S is equal to UT. That's all. That's all the equations that are used. There might be some tricky thing. The tricky thing in this question is basically to say SA is equal to SB plus 40. That's all. That's the only thing you have to identify. How can you identify it easily? Draw it. Draw the situation. whatever is given in the question in words, just put it in a diagram. Picture speaks more than words. You might have come across that saying. Yeah. So once you draw it, everything will come into place. Fall into place. Okay. Next question. Question 4. A tap. So water tap. A tap is at a height above the ground and it is dripping. You know, dripping. When a tap drips, the water drops keep falling out of it. It is dripping in uniform intervals of 1 second each. Okay. If the 7th drop is just about to fall of the tap as the first drop hits the floor, okay, if the 7th drop is just about to fall off the tap, as the first drop hits the floor, find the height at which the drop is, the tap is situated. Okay. We'll discuss this. You will do the answer. Okay, so let us say this is where the tap is. Okay, and this is the height you are supposed to calculate. H. What they are saying is 7th drop is here, as the first drop is here. Okay, when the first drop is here, the 7th drop is just about to fall, as the first drop just hits the floor. Which means there are more drops in between, is it not? There are some drops which are still falling. They are still in the air. What drops are in the air? Like the second drop would be somewhere here, third somewhere here, fourth somewhere here, fifth somewhere here, sixth somewhere here. Okay. So don't think that I am not able to split the situation into 7 equal parts. I can, but this is how the distances will actually be. Okay. Now, what is the interval between the two drops? Any two drops? 1 second. So what it means is there is a tap. First drop falls of it. After 1 second, second drop falls of it. After 1 second, third drop falls of it. After 1 second, fourth drop falls of it. So when the 7th drop is just about to fall, how many seconds would have taken for the first drop to reach the ground? That is the logic behind the question. That will tell you the time in which the first drop hits the ground. Once you have that time, you know the acceleration is 10 meters per second square downwards. Use A, use this time and calculate S. You know U equals 0. Drops on it. So U equals 0, A equal to this, P is equal to, you have to think about this. I mean, it's not unknown actually. It is given in a different situation, different way. Okay. So think about time and then you can calculate the displacement. Okay. I'll hope you do it. I'll give another question. Do not worry. I'll post this question on Google Classroom also. So yeah. So don't worry if you have not taken a screenshot or something. Okay. I'll give another question. Two trains. Okay, wait. I'll give a different. What time does it take train of length 400 meters moving at a speed 72 kilometers per hour to fully cross an electric pole a platform of length 150 meters another train of length 250 meters moving in the same direction at speed 54 kilometers per hour. Yeah, these three questions. These three questions are similar to the way we worked out this. So try to solve this also. This fifth question. I mean, it's like only 5 questions were done, but there were sub questions also. There were sub parts of a question. So I think we have done some 10 problems today, more than 10 problems today. I'll give you more problems on Google Classroom. Please do that homework. Please check it out. If you have any doubt, please ask there. Maybe I'll post the solutions once everybody is done. Yeah, so that's it for the day. Tomorrow we shall do vectors. We shall learn vectors tomorrow. Okay. And after we learn vectors, we will do a little more of one-dimensional motion, and then we will move on to two-dimensional motion. But tomorrow we will do vectors. Tomorrow or whenever the next class is. So do not worry about it. Whenever the next class is, we will do vectors. Please do not miss the class. I'm repeating again. Please do not miss the vectors class. It will be very difficult to repeat. Apparently, there are already some students who have joined this late, and some of them have actually missed some classes, like calculus classes or basic math functions classes. Such classes they have missed. So for them only, I am posting those videos on video links on Google Classroom. But try not to miss any classes here. Okay, we are basically working at home, studying at home only. I still don't see a lot of activity on Google Classroom yet. There needs to be more activity at home. Thereby, you will get more doubts, and that is how activity in the Google Classroom will also increase. Please do work. Don't think maybe we will repeat this after the school starts. Maybe we won't. We don't know that. So don't be complacent. Don't think that okay, it will be surely repeated, so I don't have to do anything right now. Please don't be like that. Right? Do something productive right now itself. And if you think you are absolutely free, even after doing all this work, maybe try to learn a language. Do you know of an app? I mean, there is an app called Duolingo. There's an application, there's a software named Duolingo. It's a very nice or simple app which has a very simple interface for you to be able to learn some second language, whatever language you wish, German, French, something, just for the sake of it. Okay. All right. So do some work today. Finish all the work promptly. Ask doubts on Google Classroom. So we'll leave for today. I'll post these pictures post these screens on the Google Class. Okay. Chalo. See you guys. Bye. I'm closing the session.